Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Bienvenue à Tennis Weekly Journal. Bonsoir, Alina. We are back for another episode of Tennis Weekly brought to you by Property Hub Invest. We are once again live from Roland-Garros. We've made the mad dash out of the night session where Yannick Sinner was facing Frenchman Arthur Rinderknech, and it was almost entertaining.
It's always entertaining, Chris. We do this every year. We get on one session with a Frenchman. I think this is our second Arthur Rinderknech session.
I think 2023. Taylor Fritz was also
Facing Arthur Rinderknech.
Arthur Rinderknech, exactly.
I think it was on Suzanne Langlois.
It was. It went very late, went later than the night session, that's for sure. But alas, he did not get a set this time. It was straight sets. Sinner did sweep through. But the biggest challenge for Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, arguably today, was criticism of their match kits. They've debuted the new Nike collection. Very different outfits for them both, but probably equally poorly received. Alina, you did make a comparison about Yannick Sinner's outfit. It's green and blue and white. What did you say? I'm putting you on blast.
It did remind me very slightly of the Luigi character playing tennis.
From Mario?
From Mario.
Super Mario. So this is Luigi, his brother.
Brother Luigi.
Yes.
It was the same striking combination of a blue hat and a green top.
And they're plumbers, aren't they? Plumbers from Italy. So
they're not playing tennis, but if you remember the game,
Mario Tennis.
There is
I love
Mario
that.
Tennis, and there was a similar color combination in there as well for Luigi. So
Nike took their inspiration
I think
from
social
that.
media reacted very fast to it, and all of a sudden the associations were very visible when put next to each other.
Yes, the memes were memeing. Well, we'll put a poll out and see which outfit you think is best. I have to say, Carlos Alcaraz, when I first saw this, it looked like he was maybe escaping from Alcatraz. I'm not sure that I love it. I think the white and black isn't great, but you got up close and initially you thought it was giving...
It was very rugby adjacent.
I thought you said Sims burglar, Alina.
It was giving Sims
A rugby
burglar as
playing
well.
Sims burglar.
If you remember the game, I think all of the outfits
They did look a bit French, those burglars. That is true.
It's this classic stripe. A classic stripe reminds you of a jailer or
It does.
of a burglar.
But there is some turquoise on that, so maybe the closer you get, the better it gets. But one thing I would say is that on the women's side, it's actually completely the opposite. I thought Naomi Osaka's outfit today was truly inspired, and you told me she designed it herself.
It's the Sakura-inspired collection, designed herself, and it looks just so beautiful. But Emma looked well in her kit. Maddie looked well in her kit.
Paola looked great as well. I
The
thought
ladies were a hit.
they were a hit. Nike, please up your men's tennis game. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Our Roland-Garros coverage is brought to you by Property Hub Invest.
If you're looking to build a successful property portfolio without the stress of going it alone, Property Hub Invest could be exactly what you need.
With over 13 years of experience and trusted by the Sunday Times as weekly property columnists, the team behind Property Hub Invest have helped thousands of investors build hands-off, high-performing portfolios.
They source buy-to-let opportunities you won't find anywhere else, complete with exclusive investor discounts, then guide you through every step so you can invest with confidence and grow your wealth the smart way.
So if you're serious about property, head to propertyhub.net/start to take your first step.
That's propertyhub.net/start.
The link is in the description. Someone who you've just mentioned who did up their tennis game today was Emma Raducanu, who's made it through to the second round on her return to Paris. It's been a few years since she's been here, but she won through in what was a very dramatic match. Well, there's never a dull moment in an Emma Raducanu match, is there, Alina?
It started interestingly, and short after we had the doctors
The
on
doctor
site.
came on. I mean, I've read some misinformation as soon as that happened. Someone said she had an eye issue, and I didn't see anything happening with the eye for her at all. I thought from the off, she did a sort of grimace that made us think she's not feeling very well today.
Yeah, it seemed like a sort of
A
malaise.
sickness or something.
Yeah.
In press, she did say it was actually that she was just feeling a bit under the weather. She felt fine, well, not fine yesterday, but she woke up today and wasn't feeling great. So she managed to battle through that. And she also managed to battle through her court for today. She was on a smaller court and she was asked about how she finds smaller courts and how she compares that to bigger courts where she's most likely to play when she faces Iga Swiatek in the next round.
Yeah, I honestly think it's really difficult because the tournament don't really help in terms of getting you court time on the bigger courts or on like the match courts, really. I feel like, I don't know, like certain players get preferred treatment, and I mean, it's very different, like from at the annex, for example, across the road or the other courts to then kind of jump onto Chatrier or jump onto a stadium. It isn't easy. So, you know, I kind of wish they would give us more opportunities on stadium or bigger courts, especially if we're going to play on them. But I think, you know, that court today, it was cute, it was intimate. I like that you can kind of really feel the fans and so the support, because sometimes on a bigger court, if it's not full, it feels a little bit empty. So there, you're right in the thick of it, but there is a lot going on. You know, there's other courts around, there's a lot of noise, there's music, but it was good, I think, for me to stay focused and really centered on the match in front of me. But yeah, it does take a little bit of just adjustment.
So that was quite interesting, Alina. I feel like she was maybe making a point to the French Tennis Federation and the schedulers.
It seemed like she had a few suggestions, a few changes.
She wants more time on the big courts practicing, and she will get that.
Were you surprised at all to see her in court 8 in the schedule?
I wasn't, because we've seen some quite interesting scheduling that's gone on. I think tomorrow is Hurkacz versus Fonseca on an outside court. And we know that Fonseca has a big following. Hurkacz, Polish audience always turns up, especially with Iga Swiatek being such a prominent player at Roland-Garros. So there's been some matches on the outside, bit surprised by Holger Rune was on the outside. Barbora Krejcikova, who won a Grand Slam as recently as last year, was also on an outside court today. Rybakina on an outside court. So I don't think you can expect to be on big courts, but I think she would like to practice on the courts that she's going to be playing on rather than courts that don't feel like they're part of the tournament. I do understand that you are in a different location. It's the same site. So I was surprised that she gave such an interesting answer to that question. I thought it would just be, you know, I like playing wherever, I'll play wherever, love
You were
the vibe.
expecting the standard answer.
Yeah.
The standard media prep.
The eyebrow was raised for that one. But either way, it's great to see Emma playing well. Hopefully she's feeling better. And that will be a fantastic match. I did want to talk about the night matches so far. So we had a good one today. I understand this concept of Jannik Sinner versus Arthur Rinderknech. What kind of surprised me was the Ben Shelton-Sonego match that did end up being very late. It was an exciting match, but was it the right pick for a night match, do you think, Alina?
It came also into an interesting Sunday. It came right after the Rafa Nadal celebrations.
We'd reached the crescendo. This was an afterthought.
And a lot of people have left being Sunday, and already it started already.
Well, some people have jobs to go to, Alina.
Exactly. I felt that it was just a good match, given the situation, given the Sunday, given how the Sunday looked.
It does.
Somebody had to play.
Someone
after
had
the
to
Rafa
play.
ceremony. It happened to be Ben Shelton.
Yeah, that's a
Sonego.
tough gig, isn't it? It's a tough act to follow, but is it a slot no one wants? And actually, are the women actually doing better for not having to have that spot? Would you play that late?
It's a very interesting slot to play, because you're also expected to bring the entertainment bit with it. And yeah, as you mentioned, not a lot of players are down to it. The temperatures change. You might have a roof closed. You might not have it. You don't know what you get. It's gonna be a big surprise, and then of course the load of the match itself will come on top. So it is a risk, and me personally, I wouldn't like, given how loud the audience was tonight. It must be a thrill, but also quite stressful to play as well.
Yeah, you got the whole day to wait. So we'll keep you posted if there's more questions asked about that. But we're going to take a quick break now, but join us in the second half of our Day 2 Journal, brought to you by Property Hub Invest, where we will be talking Djokovic on what Murray said to him in the tunnel after he won his 100th title after the split, Swiatek on the best advice she received from Nadal, and we will be previewing our picks for Day 3. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly Journal, brought to you by Property Hub Invest. So, Media Day, Alina, is finally over.
It's over.
On Day 2 of the championships, Novak Djokovic reported for media duties.
I think we had in total around 5 reschedulings. I thought this is for sure not happening until a lot of commotion in the room started happening. And we realized that finally the moment has arrived. We will get to see Novak.
Yes, the mic test made me think they're taking this next press conference a bit more seriously. There was a testing 1-2 moment, and then eventually Novak Djokovic did appear. He was on great form. I think all journalists in the room forgave him for rescheduling by more than 24 hours. He was very busy yesterday, so I think that kind of makes sense as to why he wasn't there. And I think people speculated there was more to it. Thankfully, there wasn't. And the question on everyone's lips was around the reunion with his now ex-coach, Andy Murray, in the tunnel after winning his 100th title as soon as they had split. And, I mean, it was quite fun to hear the answer, so we'll play it to you now in full.
We joked around a little bit about his dress code yesterday, because I never saw him dress up so well, and so we kind of joked around and talked a little bit about golf, family, of course, and had also time to speak to him and Roger in the room about reflecting on some of the nice memories we had in our rivalries and kind of playing Nadal here in Roland-Garros, etc. So that was quite special, being in the room with these two guys for quite some time. And in terms of the joke about the tournament, he did congratulate me, and he said, "Now that you have a proper coach, it's great. You're winning tournaments." So, I don't know. I didn't take that as a joke. I mean, it's of course it was he was joking, but it's. I think I've said enough, but I'll say it again. Andy's just an amazing person. First of all, someone that I have spent most of my career with since the very young age on the tour, traveling, playing him, facing him in the earliest days under 12 and all the way through to the last days of his career. So for him to join my team and for us to give a shot to this player-coach relationship was really an incredible thing for tennis and for both of us. And I was very privileged and very honored, and I was enjoying myself very, very much, regardless of the fact that we haven't had maybe the success that we both wanted or people expected us to have. But I still think that I've learned things on the court with him. I've enjoyed my conversations with him about tennis, because I still think that he's one of the most brilliant tennis IQ guys out there. So, and whoever he decides to work with next, if and when, that player is going to be lucky, because, he has definitely a lot to share, a lot of great insights. So it just didn't work out between us in terms of results and in terms of what we were hoping for, and that's all there is to it. And personally, I actually enjoyed my time very much with him, and I feel like we have a closer relationship because of our working relationship in the last 4 or 5 months.
Well, now he's got a proper coach. You're winning tournaments. I mean, what a line. I mean, that's so Andy Murray coded. And we talked about what Andy Murray texted Nadal. I feel like this is also a text that he could have sent to Novak.
It's the British humour again.
It's coming up again, isn't it? I mean, he said he didn't take it as a joke. So I'm like, well, was it a joke? It kind of was a joke, but also I mean, there's a point to it. The fact that they didn't win a title together, which was a shame, but so nice to hear the words that Novak said about Andy, despite the fact of not being the partnership they hoped for.
It was really, really lovely to hear that from Novak, and also all those details. I think it must be a really special situation where you just compete for so long and then you become like partners in crime, and just be able to joke like that and have that relationship and that report.
Yeah, it's not been long, has it, since the split?
No, it's quite fresh. But yeah, let's see. He did say, let's see who Andy picks up next. Not that he might pick up somebody, but I think that was a bit of a slip there.
Whoever, not pick up or coach. I do think it could be a hint.
It was a hint.
That maybe Andy's also thinking about... He did backtrack pretty quickly. So the speculation continues. And one person who was rumoured, but we have known that Polish media has not necessarily always told us the truth, was actually Iga Swiatek, who actually apparently made a play to be coached by Andy Murray when he was potentially on the coaching market. We cannot confirm, we cannot deny, but Iga's very much still with her coach. She's in the tournament. She got off to a win on Philippe Chatrier today. She played pretty well. There were a few tough moments out there today, and she managed to get through. And of course, she was at the big event yesterday, and what was so great about that was that she was able to talk about one of her best memories, or kind of one of the best pieces of advice that Rafa ever gave her, and we'll listen to that now.
Well, it's not like it's like a eureka thing, but on the other hand, for him tennis is pretty simple, and he knows what his values are and he follows them. So sometimes where you're lost, like, it's nice to look at him to see like how much clear goals he has, and again, how tennis is simple for him, So in 2021 when he lost against Novak in the semis and everybody stayed at the same hotel in the Novotel, I remember like I was devastated that he lost, and next day like I met him because he was just sitting there like after breakfast or something, and I asked him how does he feel, and he was like, he was chill, he was like, oh, it's just a tennis match, I'll get many more chances. So I was like, what? Why am I crying if he's not crying?
So Iga is not crying anymore.
This was 2021 when he lost, and we saw her in potentially crying last year at Roland-Garros. So I think
the cry was after a win.
After a win, that's a very good point.
So
she did
cry
beat Naomi Osaka.
After a win, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
I think that's fair. We'll give her that. That is all good. But I do think that's quite interesting, because sometimes with our favourites, I felt like growing up with Daniela Hanchikova, I felt the losses maybe more than she did or more than anyone else did. And that's just from refreshing the live scores when I didn't have access to watch it. So you do stand people hard, that's for sure, and you do feel the losses. But I think that's quite true that probably your team are more nervous watching you, and they probably sometimes feel the result more than you do. Sloane said that as well about Kamal Murray, that he's not over some of her losses, and she is.
At the end of the day, it's just tennis.
It's just tennis. I hope that for one person, they do realise it is just tennis, and that's Naomi Osaka, who didn't have the best day in the office today. It was quite up and down for her, and I think she did have bigger expectations going into today. It led to what was quite an uncomfortable press conference where she was not happy. She did have to pause the press conference because she was upset. She did come back and complete it, and she did fulfill her media duties. So not an easy task when you're not feeling great about things and you've just had what is a very tough loss for you. She made some comments that we aren't going to play, but I do think it's important to remember, and Iga's story about Rafa is a shining example that there are more matches. The next day you're still able to move on. And I think that's something that hopefully that Naomi will kind of learn a bit more as she continues with her career, that you don't have all this responsibility, because the next day you can play another tennis match and you might win that one. So it sounds like Rafa could teach us all a lesson no matter what we are going through.
It was a hard day for her.
It was tough. It was tough to watch.
I hope we all take Rafa's advice.
Professionally and personally.
Professionally and personally. We will learn from Rafa, and we'll just take this with us onto our next ventures and tennis matches, because we also play.
We
Chris,
do
so
also
I will not
play.
cry when you when you take me on the court.
Okay, well, we will update you. We're trying to get a court in Paris for Wednesday. So we'd be recording Wednesday evening after going to the tennis. So we will update you. And now there's one piece of business left, Alina. That is the order of play for tomorrow. It's the third day of round 1. So it's not the most full schedule, but the doubles is kicking off, which is quite nice on some of the outside courts. But as always, I will be asking you, what is your pick? Where are the eyes going to be? Across Philippe Chatrier, Susan Longlong, and Simone Mathieu. I'll give you some highlights, listeners. We have Kenin playing Garcheva, which is a French player. We have Gadecki versus Coco Gauff. We have Mackenzie McDonald versus Novak Djokovic in his first match that he's playing here. And the night session is Gael Monfils versus Hugo Dellien. So very varied schedule on Chatrier. I think that's the word I'll use, Alina. And then who do we have on Susan Longlong?
We have Mira Andreeva against Christina Bukcha, and we have Alex Zverev playing Lerner Tien, Anka Tadoni and Jessica Pegula, and Mattia Bellucci with Jack Draper.
Ooh, Jack's starting his campaign. One of the last players to play their first round match. But who are we looking at?
Ooh, we know Coco Gauff.
Yes.
It's going to be an interesting sighting for us. And I might be just one more Frenchy evening session.
Bit of magic, Monfils magic.
Monfils magic. Monfils brought the magic last year. It was a night to remember for him. It made the newspapers.
It was, yes.
I think as a night session, it will not disappoint. So,
Wow, okay. Well, so I'm actually looking elsewhere. I'm obviously looking at Jack Draper, but I'm also looking, and this is cheating, but I'm also looking at, well, Alexandra Muller versus Jakub Mensik. I think that could be very tasty. And Medvedev Norrie, you did say you wanted to see Medvedev on some clay because you haven't seen that yet. I'm not sure many people have that as a bucket list activity.
it's our bucket list to see Medvedev flying on clay. So maybe that will be our start of the day tomorrow.
We might start there and we might end with Monfils playing against Hugo Dellien. But listeners, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back not tomorrow for another Tennis Weekly Journal, but that will be Joel and Kim. We'll be back with a full round 1 catch up. But this has been Tennis Weekly, brought to you by Property Hub Invest, live from Roland-Garros. But until Wednesday, it's au revoir from Alina.
Au revoir.
And it's au revoir from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.